minutes before statements by members. I think we'll get started with that and allow ourselves a little bit of time. And the honourable member, la députée de Saint-Laurent-Cartierville, aura 5.
The honourable member for Saint-Laurent-Cartierville will have 5 minutes for questions and comments when the House resumes debate on this motion, probably just after question period later today.
Déclaration de député, the honourable member for Mississauga East, Cooksville.
Mr. Speaker, I was pleased to join the Rotary Club of Mississauga City Centre on February 15th for a special ceremony celebrating Canada's national flag and 1-year anniversary of the Extending Seniors Horizon program, which offers training to seniors on how to use modern communication technologies and social media. It is common for seniors to feel isolated, and it is especially true for immigrant seniors. Extending Seniors Horizon allows seniors to lessen their feelings of isolation by communicating with their friends and family, often very far away. I've had the privilege of meeting happy seniors who participate in this program. Our government's funding has allowed them to purchase equipment used in special training sessions. I applaud the Rotary Club of Mississauga City Centre for this excellent initiative led by Tim Igbo and the work of the volunteers for Extending Seniors Horizon. Their work is greatly appreciated. I wish retirees in Mississauga, Canada, and around the world congratulations on the Rotary's 110th anniversary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Gabaga. I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker. In a few weeks from now, the Saint-Hyacinthe Shopping Centre will welcome the 7th edition of the book fair. There will be childcare, school activities, and public activities for everyone to be able to participate. This book fair includes free talks, literary discussions, and free performances, among other things. This year, there will also be the Desjardins writing contest. There will be a cartooning contest for young children, poetry contest for older children, and the municipalities' schools will take part as well. There will be 2 special guests, the author of the comics books, Agent Jean, that are very popular with the 8 to 12-year-old set, Alex A., as well as Frédéric Danterny, that has books that appeal to young adults. It's never too late or too early to help young people love literature, and I want to pay tribute to the creativity and dynamism of those in charge.
Canadians tend to trust our courts, especially the Supreme Court, Mr. Speaker. This court has strayed into the role of lawmaking on several occasions over the past 10 years, in fact, over a dozen times. Most recently, the Supreme Court has overridden its own past decisions on physician-assisted suicide, and much more importantly, a clear decision of Parliament not to allow assisted death. I want to point out that during deliberations, the court gave weight to legislative developments in Belgium, Switzerland, Oregon, Washington, and the Netherlands, but ignored the legislative record of Canada's Parliament. It is the role of Canada's Parliament to draft laws. The Supreme Court and the police are tasked with administering and enforcing them, Mr. Speaker. It seems this runaway court is more often basing decisions on the personal beliefs of its judges than on the law. So we have, in effect, Mr. Speaker, a lawless Supreme Court.
The honourable member for Vancouver Quadra. The honourable member for Vancouver Quadra.
Law 101, man. Let him know how it works.
It is my pleasure to rise in the House today to congratulate BC resident Dr. Robert Bridson for winning an Oscar for his innovation and technical achievements in the motion picture industry. Dr. Bridson is an adjunct professor of mathematics at the University of British Columbia in my riding of Vancouver Quadra, and he's being honored with the Academy Award for developing the mathematical software and creating the computer-generated models used to simulate real-world scenes in major blockbusters such as Avatar, The Avengers, The Hobbit, and the sci-fi thriller Gravity. Dr. Bridson's success highlights the economic and social importance of arts and culture to Vancouver and the country as a whole. On behalf of Parliament, I would like to acknowledge and thank Dr. Bridson for his contribution to mathematics, the film industry, and to our entertainment. and thank him for serving as an inspiration to young people considering maths as a field of study or career.
Honourable member for Saskatoon, Rosetown Bigger.
Mr. Speaker, as a mother and grandmother, I couldn't be prouder to be a part of this Conservative government. As you know, we have recently introduced our new family tax plan, a plan that will be of great benefit to every family with children. I've had lots of feedback from parents who are pleased to have a government that puts more money back in their pockets. I've also heard from many grandparents like myself who are grateful that our Conservative government is helping their children and grandchildren by providing income splitting for families with children, enhancing the universal child care benefit, increasing the maximum amount that can be claimed under the child care expense deduction, and by doubling the children's fitness tax credit and making it refundable. Mr. Speaker, my children have always been happy to vote for their mom, but now they, and many like them, will be especially eager to continue supporting our Conservative government and preserving this family tax cut plan.
The honourable member for St. John South Mount Pearl.
Congratulate and join with the Nunatuvet Community Council on the 250th anniversary of the British Inuit Treaty of 1765. Our party's commitment to the Nunatuvet Inuit and the justness of their Aboriginal rights and title claims is steadfast. New Democrats have always stood up for Aboriginal rights. Just last year, our party passed an extraordinary resolution recognizing the Nunatuvet Inuit and set down our solemn commitment to enter into honourable negotiations with them for a modern land claim agreement. We ask the Conservative government to follow the lead of the NDP to work sincerely and expeditiously to heal the relationship with all Aboriginal people, including the Inuit of South Central Labrador, and start those negotiations. We ask all colleagues in this House to join us in commemorating the 250th anniversary of the first and only British Inuit Treaty of its kind. I thank the Nunatuvet Community Council for helping to keep this important part of Canadian history alive.
The honourable member for Selkirk Interlake.
Mr. Speaker, it was 1 year ago this week that I was on the streets of the Maidan in Kiev, just following the massacre of the Heavenly Hundred. The people of Ukraine had taken to the streets and paid the highest price for speaking out against the violent and repressive actions of the Yanukovych regime. Tragically today, Ukrainians continue to fight for their democracy and the right to self-determination in the face of Russia's sustained efforts to seize territory and undermine Ukraine's sovereignty. Canada strongly condemns the ongoing violations of the ceasefire in eastern Ukraine by the Putin-backed separatists. We call on the Russian Federation and their rebel proxies in Ukraine to immediately cease their attacks, withdraw heavy weapons, halt the flow of fighters and equipment, allow OSCE monitors to do their job, and proceed with the full implementation of their Minsk commitments. As the Prime Minister has said, whether it takes 5 months or 50 years, we will never, ever recognize the illegal Russian occupation of any Ukrainian territory.
The honourable member for Mississauga-Streetsville.
Yesterday, Rotary International celebrated its 110th anniversary. Rotary is 1.2 million neighbours, friends, and community leaders who come together to create positive, lasting change in our communities and around the world. As one of those proud Rotarians, as a member of the Mississauga Meadowvale Club, I want to express my thanks to all of Rotary's members in Canada and throughout the globe. Since forming in 1905, Rotary has taken on some of the world's toughest challenges and helped a wide range of international and service organizations, from the UN to Easter Seals, get started. Of course, here in Canada, we know of Rotary's unwavering support for the eradication of polio and through its partnering with the Gates Foundation and our government to make this happen. Through the application of the four-way test to better our communities and our world, Rotarians give back and make a difference each and every day. I'm sure all members of the House will join me in congratulating Rotary on its 110th anniversary and wish it continued success for many, many more decades to come.
The Honourable Member for Chambly-Bourgeois. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to talk about an organism an organization that I feel very strongly about. Aux Sources du Bassin de Chambly supports families and individuals and helps them become independent in terms of their food security and various other needs. It provides items and helps people achieve greater autonomy. And it also collects donations. On Saturday night, I had the pleasure of taking part in a dinner and vintage fashion show to raise funds to expand the organization's premises, and people were very generous. The evening also was aimed at demystifying and helping people appreciate secondhand clothing. I want to appreciate my admiration and my support for Yolande Grenier and her organization. Thank you.
The honourable member for Richmond Hill.
Mr. Speaker, our Conservative government is the government of lower taxes. That is why we introduced a tax-free savings account, just like we promised. It's a way for Canadians to save for retirement, their kids' education, and a down payment on a house. In fact, Mr. Speaker, today we are proud that nearly 11 million Canadians of all ages and income levels have opened an account allowing them to save tax-free. According to Manulife Financial, the tax-free savings account is the favorite investment choice for Canadians, Mr. Speaker. Nearly half of TFSA account holders earn less than $42,000 a year, and in 2013, 75% of all TFSA holders earn less than $70,000. But, Mr. Speaker, the Liberals and the NDP will raise taxes and will reverse our benefits. Mr. Speaker, the facts are clear. Only our Conservative government can be trusted to keep taxes low for Canadian families.
The honourable member for Timmins, James Bay.
Mr. Speaker, Northern Ontarians are tired of being treated like second-class citizens, and we're tired of the ongoing attack on public transit in the North. We've seen the loss of air services like Bearskin, the privatization of road maintenance, and then the Liberals killed our train. When the provincial Liberals killed the train, they did it on the Thanksgiving weekend 2012, stranding all the students who wanted to come home. And a Liberal minister sneeringly told Northern families, well, if you want your kids home, they should buy cars. That's not good enough. Now they're going after the bus service. It's really unacceptable that if you're going to Toronto for cancer treatment, you have to stand outside at midnight in minus 45 waiting for that bus coming down from Matheson, Kirkland Lake, and Englehart. Now, the Liberal and Conservative plan for Northern Ontario has been the death by 1,000 cuts policy. Public transit is a right, and Northerners know that only New Democrats, provincial and federal, will stand up and defend them and fight for the North.
The honourable member for Lotbinière-Chute de la Chaudière. Mr. Speaker, we are proud to put more money in the pockets of Canadian families rather than in government coffers as the Liberals and the NDP would do. Our government created the tax-free savings account to help Canadians save money for their retirement, for their children's education, or to pay for a down payment for a house. And these accounts are good for the Canadian economy. Today, 11 million Canadians have a TFSA, and this helps people save money and save on taxes. Our Conservative government is reducing taxes, helping families, but the Liberals and the NDP will increase taxes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am pleased to rise and recognize the Inuit of South Central Labrador that is represented by the Nunatuavut Community Council and their president, Todd Russell. They are in Ottawa commemorating the 250th anniversary of the first and only pre-Confederation treaty ever entered into with the Inuit in Canada. The Southern Labrador Inuit, like all Canadians, they want to be respected and they want to benefit from resource development in their land. 250 years ago, this treaty marked good relations between the Southern Inuit and government, and today the people of Nunatuavut want the same. The Liberal Party will do everything possible to ensure that Nunatuavut's claim is accepted immediately and negotiated in good faith on a nation-to-nation basis. Mr. Speaker, if the Conservative government will not fulfill its obligations and begin negotiations with Nunatuavut, a Liberal government will. Celebrations will be held in many communities across my riding, and today they're being held here on Parliament Hill. And
The honourable member for Don Valley East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mothers and fathers should be able to make the important decisions that affect their own children. That's why our new family tax cut and enhanced universal child benefit will give 100% of families with kids an average of nearly $2,000 per child.
100%.
That's nearly $12,000 over a child's first 6 years. Our government trusts that parents know what's best for their kids. Both the Liberals and the NDP are against putting money back into the pockets of hard-working Canadian families. In fact, the Liberals will reverse our tax cuts and will impose more taxes on our middle-class Canadian families. A typical high-tax, high-debt Liberal agenda. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we will not hike taxes like the Liberals and the NDP will do. Rather, we are proud to ensure that mums and dads have the final say in where their money is going. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Davenport.
Last night, members of Parliament showed where they stood on protecting Canadians' fundamental freedoms. It's hard to imagine that so-called progressive Liberal members, especially from Toronto, could actually support Conservatives ramming a bill through that encroaches on civil liberties. But the decree came down from on high and they had to fall in line. Far from being a new breath of fresh air, the Liberal leader and his brain trust have reverted to the same old Liberal tactics of the past. It's that sort of cynical politics that more and more Canadians have grown so tired of over the last 10 years. But Canadians know they can count on the NDP to stand up on principle, stand up to defend their freedoms, stand up for security, and let me be clear, come October, they can count on an NDP government to scrap this dangerous bill. Thank you.
The honourable member for Elmwood Transcona.
Mr. Speaker, only our Conservative government is standing up for Canadian families.
Absolutely.
We introduced a family tax cut and enhanced the universal child care benefit. And now 100% of families with children in Elmwood Transcona and across Canada will be better off. That includes working, stay-at-home, and single parents, one-earner and two-earner families. Indeed, all families with children will have more money in their pockets. Every parent will now receive nearly $2,000 per child. But rather than have parents decide where their money should be spent, the Liberals and the NDP will reverse our cuts to give bureaucrats those decisions. They will take these benefits away and implement more taxes like a job-killing carbon tax. Mr. Speaker, we will not let this happen. Our Conservative government will continue to keep taxes low and put money back where it belongs, in the pockets of mums and dads.
Oral questions. Questions orales. The honourable leader of the opposition.
Mr. Speaker, after 411 days in an Egyptian jail, Canadian journalist Mohamed Fahmy's retrial has now been delayed for 2 weeks. Everything needs to be done to get Mr. Fahmy home to Canada. The Prime Minister's office has said that he's been in contact with Egyptian authorities, quote, at all levels. But Fahmy's family and all Canadians would like to know the truth. Has the Prime Minister himself spoken directly and personally to President Al-Sisi to ask that Mr. Fahmy be returned to Canada, yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Once again, Mr. Speaker, the government has decried the process on many occasions and called for Mr. Fahmy's release. This has been raised at all levels by the Government of Canada, including at my level, with the Egyptian government, and we will continue to press the case until we see a satisfactory resolution.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
We asked a clear question of the Prime Minister, and the family deserves a clear answer. The Australian Prime Minister spoke directly with the Egyptian President. Has the Prime Minister of Canada spoken with President Al-Sisi of Egypt about getting Mr. Fahmy back to his home in Canada?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, once again, we've raised this at all levels and will continue to do so in ways that we believe are effective, Mr. Speaker. We remain optimistic that this case will be resolved, but we are disappointed it has not been to this point, but we will continue to press for Mr. Fahmy's full release.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Comme le démontre.
As the case of Mr. Fahmy shows so well, Mr. Speaker, serious human rights violations are sometimes committed in the name of national security. That is why, unlike the Liberals, who are blindly supporting the government's agenda, We in the NDP believe that it is essential to scrutinize Bill C-51. Does the Prime Minister recognize that it is essential to study this bill in depth and ensure that security experts and human rights experts are not only heard but listened to? The Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, this legislation is strongly supported by the Canadian public, and his criticisms of this bill are ridiculous. Now the bill is before the committee, and I would urge the committee to study this bill as quickly as possible in order to ensure the adoption of these measures to ensure the security and safety of Canadians. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Any serious study of this bill, Mr. Speaker, ramming Bill C-51 through without improved oversight is reckless. Despite the Prime Minister's insistence, the Security Intelligence Review Committee is not an oversight body. It's a review body that looks at what CSIS does after the fact. After the fact. CERC's spokesperson is clear, quote, "We are not involved in the operational decision-making." Does the Prime Minister still maintain that CERC is adequate oversight of CSIS when even the committee itself says that it is not?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the NDP just compared human rights in Canada with human rights in Egypt. So I think that tells you a bit where he's coming from on this, Mr. Speaker. Let me read what CERC itself actually said. Our model of ongoing and methodological review has the distinct advantage of allowing for a full and impartial assessment of CSIS's performance, arguably better positioning it to detect potential problems earlier. That's what CERC itself said. In addition, Mr. Speaker, if the NDP bothered to read the bill, they would notice that it requires judicial authorization for exercise of certain powers before the fact.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
People working in the parliamentary cafeteria than there are at CERC, Mr. Speaker. And with nominations like Arthur Porter, it's hard to believe that the Prime Minister takes their role seriously. The Member of Parliament for Kitchener Centre and other members of the Government caucus are calling on the Prime Minister to use the notwithstanding clause to go around a recent Supreme Court judgment on physician-assisted dying. Can the Prime Minister assure Canadians that he will not be using the notwithstanding clause to overrule the Supreme Court's unanimous decision on end-of-life care?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
The government said very clearly that we respect decisions of the courts. We're taking a look at this decision. Mr. Speaker, we're taking a look at this decision. It's on a matter that's obviously very delicate and very divisive among Canadians. I don't consider this a partisan matter at all. We will listen to Canadians from all backgrounds and do that before deciding how to respond to the decision.
The Honourable Member for Papineau.
Mr. Speaker, the Supreme Court gave Parliament a year to implement legislation on physician-assisted dying. Parliament, therefore, has limited time to respond to this ruling in a manner that respects both the Charter and Canadians' priorities. Will the government support our motion to create a special committee and consult with Canadians? And if not, will the Prime Minister share his plan to tackle this important issue?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Once again, Mr. Speaker, the government doesn't consider this a partisan matter. This is a very delicate subject on which Canadians have a range of strongly held views. Mr. Speaker, there is a committee of the House of Commons, the Justice Committee, that has a mandate to study this. Should they so choose, we'll leave that decision to them, Mr. Speaker. In the meantime, the government intends to consult widely with Canadians to review the decision, and will consult very comprehensively before deciding how to respond.
The Honourable Member for Papineau.
Mr. Speaker, Quebec held a respectful and informed debate on the delicate issue of medical aid for dying. The Supreme Court gave Parliament 12 months to study the issue. Now, with the 12 weeks of sitting time that remain, we do have time to get the job done if we start now. How does the Prime Minister intend to respect the time frame, and can he share the plan that he advocates for this important issue? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, this is a non-partisan issue, and Canadians have wide-ranging views on this matter. As the member said, Mr. Speaker, the Supreme Court gave Parliament 1 year to study the matter, and we're consulting the public, and we will conduct comprehensive consultations before deciding how to proceed. The Honourable Member for Papineau. Given that the Prime Minister did not answer the question of the Leader of the Opposition proposition directly, I will try again. We were concerned that some members of his caucus talked about invoking the notwithstanding clause to get around the Supreme Court decision. Can the Prime Minister confirm clearly that he will not use the notwithstanding clause on this important issue? Yes or no? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the government has always respected the rulings of the Supreme Court, and we will study this decision along with Canadians before proceeding.
C-51 has been roundly condemned by security experts for being overbroad, vague, and ineffectual. It sacrifices Canadians' rights and freedoms to give security agencies new powers without any new oversight. And rather than answer questions or address these problems, the Conservatives have rammed C-51 through this House. Are they now also going to try to railroad it through committee? Will the government commit today to a full and proper study of this sweeping security bill?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased that the House yesterday voted for this bill. I'm disappointed to see the NDP. Not only they didn't want this bill to move on, but they don't want the... Well, Mr. Speaker, I think we should care about terrorism in this country. We should do as elected member what we can to give the tool that our police officer and law enforcement and security intelligence need, and we should show them respect, a thing that the Leader of the Opposition has not been able to do. Mr. Speaker, we will stand for Canadians and protect them against terrorism.
The Honourable Member for Squamish,
Well, Mr. Speaker, there we have the Minister hiding behind fear again instead of committing to a proper study. But no wonder he won't, when every day new information is coming out about critical flaws in C-51. Experts are warning the bill could create a legal grey area, mixing the roles of CSIS and the RCMP. Cases could be left in limbo without any possible criminal charges. C-51 needs a full study, hearing from experts and hearing from concerned Canadians. Why are the Conservatives so afraid of being accountable for a bill that affects all of us?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the media are reporting that the NDP does not even want to debate within committee, but what I find very regrettable, Mr. Speaker, is that the Leader of the Opposition, who attacked the credibility of the members of CSIS, people who devote their lives to protecting Canadians. These people respect the law, Mr. Speaker, and they do not deserve to be treated like criminals by the Leader of the Opposition. I call upon him to apologize and to respect people who work to protect Canadians. And I call on him, Mr. Speaker, to present arguments and not lies to defend his position. Order. I heard a word that I think is non-parliamentary. I will consult the Blues. The Honourable Member for Alfred Pelin. Mr. Speaker, let's be clear. We know that Bill C-51 in its current version is a botched bill. The government, in cahoots with the Liberals, is playing with what is most precious to us, our rights and our safety. And after having rammed the bill through its second reading, now the government wants us to rush a Bill C-51 through committee blindly. Will the minister agree to hear from Canadians and to ensure that former prime ministers and former Supreme Court justices who advocate prudence can explain why they believe C-51 goes much too far? The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Preventing high-risk travelers from getting on a plane, meeting parents to deter their young people from plunging into radicalization, ensuring that foreign affairs officers share important information with the RCMP, shutting down website with hate propaganda, and preventing imminent attacks on Canadians, Mr. Speaker. Those are provisions in the bill, and I hope that we will be able to debate them in committee, and I'm anxious to meet with the members of the committee for this purpose. The Honourable Member for Alfred Pellat. Yes, I also certainly hope that we'll be able to debate this bill thoroughly in committee. The government claims that current civilian oversight of our Secret Service activities is adequate, and yet the spokeswoman for the Security Intelligence Review Committee contradicted the minister yesterday, confirming that CIRC has only a limited, after-the-fact review mandate. It seems only logical, Mr. Speaker. If more power is to be given to our intelligence services, their activities must be scrutinized more closely. Why is the government refusing this common-sense approach? The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, CIRC is independent and it reviews activities, but in Bill C-51, there is a continuous oversight mechanism. For example, judicial authorization and authorization by the Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, those people who ensure our safety should not be treated like criminals, and when someone says that they're breaking the law, well, who can we depend on that? On the CIRC report itself, their officers do important work, and it is important to not undermine their credibility. So I would urge parliamentarians in their debates to respect the people who protect us, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, when news broke of a BSE case in Alberta, the Minister of Agriculture said it wouldn't harm exports. But within days, South Korea banned Canadian beef, and then Indonesia, and now Peru, Belarus, and Taiwan have also announced blanket restrictions. Far from there being no harm, we now have 5 countries banning Canadian beef. These trade restrictions will cost our producers and our economy, and there is concern they could grow. Why have the Conservatives failed to effectively protect our beef exports, and what are they doing to reverse the damage?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
The World Health Organization for Animal Health recognizes Canada as a controlled risk status country. CFIA and the Market Access Secretariat continue to engage our trading partners to ensure that markets stay open and to reopen markets to Canadian beef as quickly as possible. With regards to the countries that the member mentioned, while they have imposed temporary restrictions, these markets, while important, represent a small percentage, some 3% of our overall trade.
The Honourable Member for Welland.
Well, Mr. Speaker, tell that to the 3% of ranchers across this country that actually have just lost their markets, that somehow that's insignificant. Mr. Speaker, beef boycotts have spread to 5 countries now, with exports worth more than $70 million, and I don't think that's chump change. Maybe the minister does. But keeping foreign markets open depends on a really strong regulatory system here in this country. But Conservatives have cut the Canadian food inspection budget. They'll say they don't, but the reality is, look at the numbers they did. So, Mr. Speaker, it's really simple. Why is this government putting that sector that's worth billions of dollars at risk? And when are Conservatives going to act on behalf of all farmers across this country and stand up for them?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
To power, we've invested close to $1 billion in the food safety system in this country. And what has that resulted in? The Conference Board of Canada rates our food safety system #1 against 17 OECD countries. So, Mr. Speaker, we'll continue to invest in our food safety system, and we're proud of its record.
The Honourable Member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Mr. Speaker, further to the recent case of BSE in Alberta, 5 countries have announced restrictions on our beef. South Korea, a significant market for our beef, has even closed its borders. And yet last week, we were told that this new case would have no impact on exports of Canadian beef. Worse yet, our producers were just beginning to recover from the last crisis. Mr. Speaker, what is the government's plan to protect the livelihood of our beef producers in Canada? Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the world is certainly welcoming of Canadian red meat products, including our beef industry. That's why we've gone to bat for them in the European Union, opened that market. Of course, the opposition voted against that. At the same time, we brought forward $200 million more in Budget 2014 to enhance our BSE surveillance, Mr. Speaker, and the opposition voted against that. So we stand firmly with our beef industry, Mr. Speaker. The opposition don't.
Honourable Member for Rivière-des-Mille-Îles. Mr. Speaker, the government says that stimulating the Canadian economy is a good thing, but we have yet to see results. The borders with Korea are closed for our beef, and we're waiting for the free trade agreement with Europe to be finalized. And there are still no guarantees for our cheese producers. When will the government finally make job creation the focus of its trade policy? The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
This government is listening to our industry when it comes to agriculture. We continue to work with them arm in arm in whatever is going to be required to make sure they have a bottom line. The last 2 years in a row, we've had record returns to our agricultural sector, Mr. Speaker, and a lot of the rules and regulations that this government's putting in place, regulations we're taking out of the way so that these businesses can have a solid bottom line. We'll continue along that vein, Mr. Speaker. The opposition cannot support it. That's at their own peril.
The Honourable Member for Skeena-Beauport.
Mr. Speaker, middle-class families are working harder and harder but falling further and further behind with this government. Right. It seems Conservatives are focused like a laser on schemes to help the wealthy few. 2 reports out today show the government's plan to double TFSA limits will cost tens of billions of dollars and yet benefit only the wealthiest Canadians.
Well,
Does this sound at all familiar to anybody? Taking from everybody to help the wealthiest few. Do these troubling new reports give this finance minister any pause, or is he really so hell-bent on finding new ways to give tax breaks to the wealthy and the well-connected?
The Honourable Minister of State for Finance.
Mr. Speaker, again, we're proud to put more money back into the pockets of Canadian families instead of into the government coffers as the Liberals and the NDP would do. Our government introduced the tax-free savings account as a way for Canadians to save for their retirement, a way to save for their children's education, and perhaps a down payment on their home. 11 million Canadians have a TFSA, with the vast majority of those Canadians and those accounts going to low and middle income earners. Mr. Speaker, the NDP voted against it. We know that they would raise taxes for Canadians. We know they would take away the TFSA. Canadians understand they're better off with this Conservative government.
Honourable Member for York West.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has slashed old age security and infrastructure to our cities, taxed income trusts, proposed income splitting for the rich, and now plans to double TFSA contribution limits, something the Parliamentary Budget Officer calls fiscally irresponsible this morning. Doubling the TFSA limit is another expensive Conservative scheme that will only benefit the wealthy more than others. While the Conservatives insist on giving 100% to the top 10%, working families are asking, what's left for them?
The Honourable Minister of State.
Well, again, Mr. Speaker, this government is proud to be bringing forward measures that would put money back into the pockets of Canadians rather than into the government coffers like the Liberal Party would do. Our government, again, introduced the tax-free savings account as a way for Canadians to save for the things that were important to them, like a child's education or perhaps a down payment on a home. Mr. Speaker, 11 million Canadians have taken the TFSA out. The majority of those, Mr. Speaker, over half, or nearly half of TFSA owners earn less than $42,000. Mr. Speaker, we know that they would take the TFS away. We know that they would take pension income splitting away. We know that as much as we lower taxes for Canadians, they want to take more out of their pocket.
The Honourable Member for Trinity Spadina.
Mr. Speaker, what do the following cities have in common? Kitchener, Vancouver, Burlington, Sydney, Markham, Montreal, Cambridge, Ottawa, Halifax, Toronto, Mississauga, and Regina. What do they have in common? Well, I've talked to the mayors in those cities, and what they have in common is a very simple thing. None of them have gotten any federal infrastructure money last year, and they don't expect to get any money this year because of your government's policies. In fact, none of them are getting any money. Do you understand that? None of them are getting any money. Can the minister explain why he's spending $29 million on billboards, but not a penny on new infrastructure in these important states?
it seemed like much of that question was directed at myself and not the minister. I know the member will try to remember to direct his comments through the chair, not directly at the minister, but I do see the Honourable Minister of Infrastructure looks eager to answer the question, so I'll allow him to do so.
Yeah, that's a pleasure to remember the member that since 2006, Canada's led G7 countries in total investment in infrastructure as rate of GDP. We're leading the way. We introduced the largest infrastructure plan in Canadian history with $75 billion. They want to centralize everything in Ottawa. We do that in partnership with provinces, municipalities, and we will continue to do so, Mr. Speaker.
And the Honourable Member for Trinity Spadina.
Mr. Speaker, we've heard that answer before. In fact, I've heard it countless times. What this government needs to understand is that the program that they have put together is not working for cities. It doesn't work in cities. In fact, the program is back-end loaded. That's the problem. What we've seen is a 90% cut in infrastructure spending. What's happened is that it was $2 billion 2 years ago. It's $200 million now, and this is hurting cities across this country. So the question is very simple. Municipalities can't wait. Cities can't wait. Canadians can't wait. Why won't this government fix the program now, spend the money now, so that cities can get back to building infrastructure that we need in this country now?
The Honourable Minister of Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, only for gas tax we have doubled it. You have made that permanent. And this year, since the beginning of this program, the New Building Canada Fund, that's $5 billion which have been accepted and is in person. And when he was member of a city council, we have fixed Scarborough Subway, Toronto York Spadina Subway Extension, Shepherd Light Rail Transit, Union Station Revitalization, and more. Only in Toronto, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Algoma, Manitoulin, Kapuskasing.
Mr. Speaker, an investigation into the train accident near Golgama found 29 cars derailed, 21 cars caught fire, and it took 6 days to extinguish. Mr. Speaker, 1 million litres of crude oil were released. Even more disturbing, the new standards put in place in 2014 for tank cars are still inadequate. Yeah. The Safety Board is urging Transport Canada to quickly introduce enhanced protection standards for more robust cars. Mr. Speaker, when will the minister introduce higher standards to protect Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Transport.
Transport Canada has already removed the least crash-resistant DOT-111 tank cars. In fact, we move far faster than anybody else has with respect to this matter. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, because of the nature of the tank cars between the United States and Canada, it's very important that we work in cooperation, coordination with the United States on these matters, and that's exactly what the department is doing.
Bravo.
The Honourable Member for Brossard-La Prairie. The minister did not answer the question. The facts are very clear. 2 years after the tragedy in Lac-Mégantic, the tank car crude oil standards are not robust enough. The Transportation Safety Board is asking Canada to bring in more robust standards so tank cars be more solid. My question is simple. When will the minister put more stringent requirements into place? When? The Honourable Minister.
Last April, we announced some very important milestones. We announced that we would take 5,000 tank cars out of the system within 30 days. That was completed. Transport Canada also announced that within 3 years we'd be phasing out as well the other DOT-111 cars to new higher standards. We also have announced, too, Mr. Speaker, that we're working with the United States on what the new tank car standard will bring. Mr. Speaker, we are continuously working on these matters. The TSB has recognized the significant progress that the government has made on the matters and will continue to do so.
The Honourable Member for Argenteuil-Papineau-Mirabel. The families of the missing and murdered Aboriginal girls and women are also still seeking answers, whereas they are preparing to meet tomorrow to give their testimony to the provincial, territorial, and federal delegates who will be meeting on Friday. We hope that their voices will finally be heard and that the government will come to understand that in order to move forward, we have to know what the causes of the violence are. Will the government finally listen to the families and launch a national public inquiry?
Mr. Speaker, our government has been focused and committed to preventing all forms of violence against women and girls. And we have, and I think all Canadians know, we have focused our our focus has been on supporting, preventing, and also protecting these young women. Our government has put forward a bill to make sure matrimonial property rights for women living on reserve receive the support that they require. Our government has put forward a Victims' Bill of Rights. These are acts that help protect and support women when they're in the most dire need. The opposition vote against them every time.
The honourable member for Argenteuil.
Investments and a national strategy. Families of the 1,200 women and girls that have gone missing or been murdered in Canada deserve to see coordinated action to end this process. They deserve answers to understand how Indigenous women, who only make up 4.3% of Canada's female population, represent 16% of all the women killed in Canada. So will the government commit to concrete actions with its provincial and territorial counterparts and call a national public inquiry?
Mr. Speaker, let me be clear. We will have federal representation at the table, but we do not support a call for national inquiry. This government moved forward in September of 2014 with an action plan to support Aboriginal women and the violent crimes that are committed against them. We made substantive investments, and we're committed to those. In addition to that, as I mentioned before, we moved forward with legislation on matrimonial property rights and Victims' Bill of Rights. The opposition obviously didn't read the action plan because we're taking action, unlike themselves, who just want to talk about things and vote against them.
The honourable member for McLeod.
Mr. Speaker, the international jihadist movement has declared war on Canada. This is precisely why our government has deployed the Canadian Armed Forces in this fight against ISIL. Every day we hear new reports of crimes against humanity committed by this terrorist group. Yesterday was no exception. According to human rights groups, ISIL terrorists abducted at least 90 people from Christian villages in northeastern Syria. Can the Minister of Foreign Affairs please provide Canada's update on this atrocity?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, the deliberate targeting, killing, and abduction of religious minorities by the jihadist terrorist group ISIL is simply outrageous. Canada condemns these abhorrent acts in the strongest possible terms. And we will continue to work with our allies to confront and degrade this terrorist threat. This is in addition to the significant humanitarian aid our government has provided to the region. The Liberals and the NDP are presenting Canadians with a false choice. It's not about either security or aid. You cannot effectively deliver aid without security. This is why we are committed to this fight and why it's about time the opposition got on board with us.
The honourable member for Toronto Danforth.
Mr. Speaker, the Unfair Elections Act is running into trouble in the courts, just as we knew it would and as expert testimony predicted. Provisions of this act are so problematic that two leading organizations are ready to ask for an injunction. There are sections of the Unfair Elections Act that clearly infringe on charter rights. So, did the minister honestly believe that his flawed bill would go ahead without serious and expensive court challenge?
The Honourable Minister of Democratic Reform.
Mr. Speaker, we had a very thorough debate on this question of whether people should be required to show ID when they vote. And the opposition fear-mongered, and they raised alarm bells, and Canadians heard all of these warnings. But when the debate was said and done, 87% of Canadians agreed that it's reasonable for people to show ID when they vote. That is what the Fair Elections Act requires. We will defend that position in court, and we're very confident that we will win.
The honourable member for Sherbrooke. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As predicted, the Unfair Elections Act is being challenged before the courts. Already the majority of experts, citizens groups, and even some former Conservatives have strongly criticized this bill, which intends to deprive some people of the right to vote. The Council of Canadians and the Canadian Federation of Students is preparing an application for an injunction. Why are the Conservatives trying to prevent students from voting in the next elections? What are they afraid of? Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals and the NDP want to allow people to be able to vote without showing a piece of ID, but we think it's reasonable to show a piece of ID in order to identify oneself when voting in an election. And, Mr. Speaker, happily, polls note that 87% of Canadians agree with our position. Our position is reasonable, and we are confident that we will win in court. The Honourable Member for Laurier-Sainte-Marie. Mr. Speaker, the participation of foreign diplomats in partisan events such as fundraisers could be perceived as being a form of support for political parties. It's not done to put foreign diplomats in such an uncomfortable position, and the Liberals should know that. Clearly, the Liberals and their leader lack judgment. Will the minister follow up with the High Commissioner for Pakistan in order to shed light on the presence of the Consul General at a Liberal Party event? Honourable Minister.
Floor. Okay, we're back on. The Honourable Minister of Seems members are quite eager for the Minister to start his answer again, so I'll let the Minister answer.
Certainly, I'd be pleased to start again, Mr. Speaker. As I was saying, it's highly inappropriate for foreign dignitaries to participate in partisan events, and the Liberal Party event was clearly political in nature. Now, while there is nothing wrong with members of Parliament bringing their concerns of their constituents to foreign ambassadors in meetings, exploiting an ambassador or an official for partisan gain is clearly unacceptable. To do so undermines the relationships between nations, and the Liberal Party should know better.
Honourable Member for Timmins, James Bay.
Canadians were concerned to read recent reports that the Pakistani Consul General in Toronto participated in a fundraiser for the Liberal Party of Canada. It was also reported he then went to Scarborough and participated in a partisan event with the Liberal candidate. We then understand that the Chinese ambassador pulled out an event when he realized it was being put on by and for the Liberal Party of Canada. This just shows a real lack of judgment. I'd like to ask the government, what do they intend to do to ensure that foreign diplomats are not being used for domestic partisan purposes by particular parties?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, that is a wise question. I'm going to thank the NDP for that. This is good. This is the kind of thing we have to have in question period, Mr. Speaker. Again, Mr. Speaker, it is inappropriate for foreign dignitaries to participate in partisan events, and I'm hoping that the Liberal Party has learned from this tragic mistake.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver Quadra.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives pay lip service to the brave men and women who serve in our armed forces, but they fail to deliver when help is needed. The government trumpeted their plan to give ex-military members priority for public service jobs, but they are refusing to let former members transfer all of their pensions if they make such a move. Why do the Conservatives disrespect the service of our armed force members, and why are they treating them so unfairly?
The Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the member for this question. There is no such barrier to hiring, Mr. Speaker. I'm very proud that our government has put forward the Veteran Hiring Act to give priority to the men and women injured in the service of Canada, Mr. Speaker. We're looking at a specific and small situation for reservists that treats them fairly so that Canadian Forces reservists can take advantage of this excellent policy for our veterans, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver Quadra.
Another failure to deliver, Mr. Speaker. Robin Young joined the forces as a reservist at the age of 17, serving full-time until 2011. In 2009, a military doctor misdiagnosed her tumor and performed unnecessary surgery. The result, a debilitating condition that now affects her ability to work. Young now works only part-time and no longer gets the medical benefits she needs to heal and return to full-time work, benefits she would have received if diagnosed correctly. Will the minister commit today to fix this injustice for Robin and any others who may be in her situation?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, both the Department of National Defence and the Canadian Armed Forces are aware of this troubling case. The Canadian Forces Health Services Group is conducting a full review of it. While this review is ongoing, both DND and the Canadian Armed Forces are continuing to cover her medical costs and meet her medical needs relating to her present condition. As this is a health-related matter, it would be inappropriate for me, with respect to patient confidentiality and the Privacy Act, to comment further.
The Honourable Member for Louis Hébert. Mr. Speaker, the former president of the Quebec Chamber of Commerce has been clear. The federal government is responsible for the bungling of the Quebec Bridge story, and they feel that it must pay. Who made the contract in 1995? The Liberals. Who went to court and lost? The Conservatives. While the Conservatives are trying to throw the hot potato into CN's court, the people of Quebec are still waiting. Will the Prime Minister finally keep his word? And it's important here, keep his promise, keep his word, and have the Quebec Bridge repainted.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know if the member has been keeping up with the information, but it's very clear that our government is committing $75 million in order to repaint the Quebec Bridge. We are acting on exactly what we said we would do. All three levels of government are committing $100 million towards this important project, but it's up to CN, Mr. Speaker. CN has to come to the table and commit the other funds that are necessary for this project to get done.
Honourable Member for Quebec. The minister claims that she's done her bit, whereas that she put $75 million on the table to repaint the bridge. The problem is that her offer is conditional on CN's participation. And CN, though, is not obliged to paint the bridge because of the Liberals' negligence. Finally, this $75 million is money that we'll never see in Quebec. Will the Prime Minister keep his word, or is he going to run in another election on a promise to paint the bridge, or is he going to keep his word and act on this?
A significant contribution to this issue has been offered by the Government of Canada. CN has responsibility for the maintenance and the operation of this bridge. As such, we do call on them to commit and come to the table and make sure that the funds necessary are there to get this work done.
The Honourable Member for Ancaster, Dundas, Flamborough-Westdale.
Mr. Speaker, this evening our Parliament will be debating the troubling rise of anti-Semitism worldwide. It's an important issue. I'm glad that I'll be speaking on it this evening, and I'm encouraging all of my colleagues to get involved in the debate this evening. I'd like to ask the Minister of Multiculturalism if he'd inform us on his update of why this debate is so important at this time.
The Honourable Minister of Multiculturalism.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the member for his question and his leadership on this issue. And indeed, I want to acknowledge the member from Mount Royal for proposing this important debate, take note debate this evening, which will allow us to discuss the rising wave of anti-Semitism across the world. Mr. Speaker, we see incidents from Paris to Brussels to Copenhagen to right here at home, which are deeply troubling, that give contemporary expression to what is the most ancient and pernicious and durable form of hatred of anti-Semitism, Mr. Speaker. Not just the old anti-Semitism with which we are sadly familiar, but indeed the new anti-Semitism, which is often located in a particular opprobrium for the Jewish homeland of Israel. So tonight, Mr. Speaker, I invite all members to participate in this debate. As Canadians, we join together in condemning the brutality of anti-Semitism.
The Honourable Member for Westmount, Ville Marie.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, Mohamed Fahmi's ordeal continues. He has just learned that his retrial will be delayed. The possibility of going back to prison weighs heavily on him. He's already spent more than 400 days in prison in horrendous conditions. Why can the Prime Minister not pick up the phone and call President el-Sisi to ask that Mr. Fahmi be returned to Canada as soon as possible? The Honourable Minister of State for Consular Affairs.
Speaker, Mr. Fahmi is receiving consular services, so we are ensuring his well-being. Instead of, for the member, writing ill-informed letters to the editor, I think he should take the time to understand that our government's been very clear at all levels. As the Minister responsible for Consular Affairs has assured this House that our government will continue to raise the case. Canada advocates for the same treatment of Mr. Fahmi as other foreign nationals have received.
The Honourable Member from Nickelback.
Mr. Speaker, whereas we are all concerned by Canadian safety and security here, the Conservatives are forcing the Canadian Intelligence Service to make significant cuts. It's completely illogical. The race to balance the budget is happening at the expense of Canadian security and the bilingualism of its officials. Can the minister tell us how he intends to strengthen the powers of CSIS without requiring them to try this? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We take our two official languages seriously. The proof is the roadmap for both official languages, which has represents an investment of $1.1 million, and the Canadian Security Intelligence Service is proud to have staff that is bilingual and diversified, and they will continue to serve Canadians in that respect.
Mr. Speaker, constituents in my riding are concerned with the living conditions of mothers, newborns, and children in the developing world. Our Conservative government has shown global leadership in this file, and the figures are staggering. Globally, between 2010 and 2013, an estimated 2 million child deaths from disease have been prevented, Mr. Speaker. 2 million children saved. Can the minister please update Canadians on our action?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the member for Kildonan and St. Paul for her hard work and her question. Notre Premier Ministre, Monsieur le Président,
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister announced an important contribution that will help some 300 million children and should save up to 600 million lives.
The private sectors, international organizations, and developing countries to deliver results. And we are especially proud, Mr. Speaker, about our partnership with Gavi Alliance and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundations. And we are thrilled, Mr. Speaker, to welcome Mr. Gates tomorrow to Ottawa for meetings.
The Honourable Member for Barry-Chaulieu-Nicolet Bécancour. Mr. Speaker, after having refused to have all the documents tabled by TransCanada for the Energy East project translated into French, now the National Energy Board refuses to suspend the consultation process, as the Union des Producteurs Agricoles has requested. We still don't know what the final route will be for the project, and rather than asking TransCanada to redo its homework, we now find that the board is moving forward without worrying about the impacts of this on Quebec's farmland. Will the minister admit that this consultation is just a facade and that the real environmental process to be respected is Quebec's? The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The National Energy Board has fulfilled its obligations under the Official Languages Act, first of all, and secondly, all of the documents produced by the board must be published in both official languages. The questions on the documents sent to must be translated.
Mr. Speaker, the Defence Minister says that C-51 protects civil liberties by ensuring that the powers of oversight are vested in the courts. However, in 2013, CSIS was censored by federal court judge Richard Mosley for not disclosing relevant information and for deliberately misleading his court. And this weekend, retired Supreme Court Justice John Major said that he was puzzled at the government's reluctance to provide better oversight over Canada's spy agencies. The judges themselves understand that warrant obtainment alone is simply inadequate. Now, the government is fond of dismissing criticism from the bench, which it labels as unelected, meddling, and interventionist. So why the sudden conversion by placing such confidence in the courts to provide effective oversight?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, on the contrary, the federal court has strengthened the powers of the Surveillance Committee, the Oversight Committee, and this is an independent oversight committee that has broad powers. It can choose the scope and the kind of investigation it will undertake. It is accountable, and it certifies the Inspector General's report, and it can investigate as it wishes without the intervention of the government or political parties. We can be proud of that committee, Mr. Speaker.
for today. I would like to draw the attention of honourable members to the presence in the gallery of His Excellency Cemil Çiçek, Speaker of the Grand National Assembly of the Republic of Turkey. The Honourable Minister of Public Safety used a term during question period, which I think upon reflection he may wish to address now.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I have great respect for the decorum of this House. I want to apologize for using unparliamentary language when referring to the Leader of the Opposition.
For that. Now, the Honourable President of the Treasury Board looks like he has something to table.
In fact, I do, Mr. Speaker. I believe some page is one of the pages, as I stall for time, has certain documents that I have to present to you.
Sure. Sure. Always blame the pages. Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
What a president, always get things
Mr.
done.
Speaker, I assure you, I'm not slow voting like the NDP.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Speaker, Monsieur